A 5-1 win in Game 1.
Mm-hmm.
This was a Florida team that the Bruins had a 3-1 lead in against last year in blue. Mm-hmm. Are the Bruins better equipped physically this year? And has Carolina lost any pieces that made them so? Oh, Florida. I'm sorry, Florida. They're both garbage franchises. Florida. I mean, I really get them confused all the time. It's like
it's the old Carolina Panther, Florida Panther thing.
Yeah,
That's
like just
what it is.
crap.
I know.
Like it's all crap. Like they shouldn't have teams. All right, but they really shouldn't.
Hey, really? I'm with them on this.
I mean, really?
Does Northern Florida really need a professional
Or does Raleigh,
team?
North Carolina need a team? All right. So anyway, Florida has the Bruins.
Yes.
More equipped to handle it physically, and has Florida lost anything that makes them not as heavy as last year?
No, they didn't have Sam Bennett in the lineup, and he is a physical player. He's not huge. He's like 6'1", 200, but he has that attitude to him. Word is he could play tonight. It's the official getting.
He's on the first line, right?
Barkov line is the first line. Bennett would be. You would call the second line.
Okay, he's on the second line.
That's the point, Fred. He comes back in the lineup, and he makes some really strong top two lines. I mean, you got your 1A and 1B. He came in, and last year he gave it to the Bees. He's got swagger to him. He's not their highest goal scorer. He isn't their biggest player, but he's got that all-around attitude that helps complete the lineup big time. No, they haven't lost anything per se, Fred. But
nothing on defense. Nothing. No heavy forwards. Nothing that they're missing from last year. Because Ekman Larsson's kind of a pussy.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but they They added the Mikkola kid to play with, and Mikkola's been up at. Remember, Marchand scrapped with him one game later this year. But he's a big kid. You know who didn't play well first game is Forsling and Ekblad. Neither of those guys played very well at all. Ekblad looked like he was off big time.
There was the I think it was the Carlo goal that the Ekblad was in front of Bobrovsky.
Because Marchand had brought him there.
And Marchand had brought him there. I understand you're sticking to Marchand like glue. You're not going to let Marchand slip over to that glove side and score from that sweet spot of his. But you can't screen your own goalie. And if Marchand is standing in front of your goalie, you got to move him out of there.
Yeah.
It's weird.
He didn't look good. He didn't move well. The one that really surprised me was Forsling, who's become their best all-around defenseman. Anyway, you didn't really notice Montour, who's, I think, a very dangerous defenseman, too, when he gets moving, especially through the neutral zone and the ozone. With all that said, Fred, for the most part, unless I'm forgetting somebody, their big guys are all back.
Okay.
They're big guys, like Barkov. The best part about Game 1, in my eyes, besides the Bruins' responses, they had numerous responses in that game that were really important. Not just the goal in minute 7 after the first goal, but that was obviously huge. But there were other moments where they responded. The timeout, and I know you guys talked about that yesterday. The timeout was a response to the 11 shots that Florida had in the first 5 minutes of the third, like where the Bruins responded to that and they settled down. So I thought that was great. But you've got the big guys for Florida, and I cannot imagine tonight that they are not absolutely 5 times more physical than they were in Game 1, they being Florida. I look for them to be much more involved in the scrums after the whistle. They are the team that does more of that crap in the NHL than anybody, and Tkachuk usually leads the way and then slithers out. So if you're the Bruins, don't get invested in those scrums. Those will tire you out, and you never know when the official's just going to call one player versus the other for a penalty. But there's no team better in the league than the Florida Panthers at starting scrums and then jumping away. And getting out of them right there. I think they're going to be looking to run around and be more physical because they were nowhere near as physical. And this is what Paul Maurice wants. He wants this team to be absolutely nasty and hard to play against.
Okay, so they were talking about the way that Carolina, on the broadcast, they play defense, saying that they don't play zone. They play like
man-to-man, more of a man-to-man.
All right, so is that... Explain to the layman, me especially, if this man-to-man defense, does that lead to more open ice? How does that affect things?
It could, yeah. So so if you think about zones, so to speak, like a zone, like the Bruins play a hybrid kind of defense, right, where the D-men aren't chasing all the way up. They're staying to a quadrant, to an area. They're protecting. They have strong side, but then you've got the weak side guy. Instead of chasing a guy all the way up to the point, imagine that. even in basketball, a guy chasing him all the way up top, then that quadrant would be open. So the Bruins have handoffs. They've got mark areas where you hand off, et cetera, that player, okay, the opponent. Florida likes to be very aggressive. They love to swarm in the D zone, and they love to be aggressive man-to-man in certain areas when they can. That means if you can open up, especially with some low to high or high ice, and bring them up, maybe you can find some open ice middle or low again. You've got to move the puck. You've got to move the puck against them because I think it'll break them down. There's less layers. Think last year, think Vegas. Vegas loves to play similar to what the Bruins do, that same type defense where they're always protecting the middle ice. Sticks are always down. They're blocking a lot of shots. Think of Toronto we just saw. What they did.
Because so there was a marked difference between
yes.
The way that the Bruins were able to play offense against Toronto and the way that they were able to play against Florida.
Because if you move the puck, you don't allow them. If you allow them to swarm, the man-on-man swarm, then you're going to be screwed. Don't allow them to swarm like that. And then move it, break them down, and see if you can get it. Again, if you can bring a guy to the middle high, and if you bring that guy with him, a D's chasing you, chip it back down, and try and expose a forward down low.
You talk about blocking shots. Can we get Hampus Lindholm maybe to lay out and block a shot as opposed to letting it like go off of him and stand there and make a half-ass attempt? Because that first goal, that's the thing that frustrates me. When you see that, it's kind of like that half measure.
He got caught in between there. He absolutely got caught in between, but it was also the play before that, Hardy, too, where the puck is transitioned. It's not broken out well. You get a forward who's a little bit higher. We talked about this during intermission on NESN. Beecher was above the puck a little too much. The bank pass by McAvoy on the backhand didn't connect.
Right.
So then if you're that weak side D, so one of the things you're doing, if that breakout play connects, let's say, to the strong side, meaning Beecher swings, let's say he stays middle ice and he catches the puck, or he doesn't be as high above and he gets it. What is Lindholm's job right there then? To get on his horse, get his butt moving up the ice to relieve pass on the weak side too.
Okay.
But meanwhile, the puck is transitioned. Then he puts the brakes on. He comes back and he gets caught in no man's land. And if you're leaving your feet there, you better be sure that you get it.
I understand what you're saying. If McAvoy and Beecher don't turn it over in their own zone like that, then Lindholm isn't necessarily caught in that kind of no man's land. Okay.
All of that. The breakdown starts with Beecher's route. I was with Brick during the other night, and he talked about that. And then McAvoy on the backhand pass. It's a breakdown. But again, the response to that, and I get what you're saying, because you don't want to see your D get caught in the middle. And he was, and the puck ticked off his leg, and it goes in. We've seen, but remember, we saw McAvoy have it go off him too a few games ago.
And I didn't like that one either.
That one especially, because that was no man's land right there.
Yeah.
But I love the response. The shift after, just loved the response from the Bruins.
How do you think Lindholm played in Game 1? Because he struggled a lot against Toronto.
He did until that. He had one good game early in the series, and then he struggled, and then he had that great last game. Even though I think, if I remember correctly, had a turnover too earlier on, or some in-betweenness early on.
So take away that deflection for obvious reasons.
Yeah, no, I thought he played pretty good. I did. I thought. Listen, I thought all the Bruins coming off of the series, the travel, the lack of rest, but obviously they're on adrenaline. Carlo absolutely on adrenaline. I thought Lindholm and the guys, they played well. Remember, you had different pairs, and so you had Carlo and for the most part Carlo and Lowry, and then Lindholm and McAvoy. I mean, I thought they were okay. I didn't think this is the best part about the game. I thought some of the Bruins' best players were just okay, and so if they can get better, that's highly encouraging. But tonight is going to be, I can't believe it's not going to be, significantly different in the sense of what you end up getting from the Florida Panthers. By the way, Florida had some real moments of goodness in that game where they controlled, they just didn't finish.
Oh my God, 11 shots in a row at
early
one point.
in the third.
And then 7, or maybe it was more than that led to the timeout.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. For more Bruins analysis and opinion, hit this playlist.